Have you ever wondered how to keep your greenhouse warm during the winter without relying on electricity? Imagine waking up on a freezing cold morning to find your greenhouse turned into a frozen wasteland. The power has been out for hours, and without heat, your crops, the product of months of hard work, are now withered and lifeless. All that effort gone in the blink of an eye. Now, how do you protect your crops from winter's worst? Well, the answer lies in a time-tested method, one that comes straight from the Amish way of life. While many of us are out here Googling the best ways to insulate a greenhouse or desperately searching for the newest tech to heat our spaces, the Amish are busy cutting wood, working with nature, and figuring out how to heat a greenhouse using only the sun, compost, and a few natural materials you might not expect. It's not just impressive that they can do it, it's how they do it. They've developed an ingenious way of working with nature, not against it, to keep their crops thriving even when the weather outside is more suited to a freezer than a field. So, how do they manage this? Let's take a closer look. First and foremost, the Amish rely on a tried and true heat source, the sun. The idea is simple. No wires, no monthly bills, just the natural energy from the sun, which has been warming the earth for billions of years. The Amish have perfected the art of making the most of that massive ball of fire in the sky. When it comes to heating a greenhouse without electricity, their best bet is to use the power of the sun itself. The first thing you need to know is that placement is key. The Amish don't just throw their greenhouses down wherever. No, they have a strategic approach. They understand the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, so they orient their greenhouses to face the southern sky. This maximizes the amount of sunlight that pours in during the day. This method is known as passive solar heating. In simple terms, it means using the sun's energy to heat the greenhouse naturally, without relying on fancy machinery or systems. You may be thinking, sure, the sun is great, but what happens when it's the dead of winter and daylight lasts as long as a TV commercial? That's where the design of the greenhouse comes into play. The Amish don't just rely on direct sunlight. They've built their greenhouses with materials that trap and hold heat. Think of it like wearing a warm winter coat. Once the coat warms up, it keeps you toasty for hours, even after you're no longer near the heat source. The materials used in Amish greenhouses, like glass or clear plastic, allow sunlight to stream in during the day. The sunlight then heats up the ground, the plants, the pots, anything in the greenhouse. It's a bit like when you leave your car parked in the sun, and when you get back inside, it feels like you've opened the door to a sauna. That's exactly what the Amish are going for, except there's no sweaty seatbelt to deal with. Greenhouses designed with passive solar heating can reduce heating costs by up to 50%, even in colder climates. That's right, half the cost just by positioning your greenhouse correctly and using the right materials. Now, if only finding a good deal on car insurance were that simple, right? Next, when designing your greenhouse, take a note from the Amish playbook. Make the most out of the sunlight you get. The Amish often add features like angled roofs to catch more rays or double-layered walls that trap heat, much like a thermos. This design turns their greenhouse into a sun-powered oven, ensuring their veggies get more sunlight than your average office worker during winter. But don't think it's all about sunny days and warm afternoons. Even on cloudy days, Amish greenhouses are designed to absorb as much light as possible and make it count. You don't need full sunlight to keep things warm. Even a little light goes a long way when you've built your greenhouse to capture every photon. It's like squeezing every last drop out of a tube of toothpaste. Once you've mastered passive solar heating, it's time to think about another key element, thermal mass. While that might sound like a confusing term from your high school physics class, stick with me because this is one of the coolest tricks the Amish use to keep their greenhouses warm without ever flipping a switch. In simple terms, thermal mass is when you use materials that absorb heat during the day and then slowly release it at night. Think of it like preheating an oven. After the oven is off, the kitchen stays warm for a while. In a greenhouse, the Amish fill their spaces with materials like water, stone, or bricks. These materials absorb heat from the sun during the day, and when the temperature drops at night, they gradually release that heat, keeping the plants cozy. Water is one of the best materials for thermal mass. It can absorb a ton of heat without getting too hot too quickly. The Amish use barrels of water as natural heat reservoirs. A 55-gallon water barrel, for example, can hold enough heat to keep a small greenhouse warm through a chilly night. That's some impressive mileage for something as simple as water. Stone and brick also work well as thermal mass materials. They absorb heat from the sun during the day and slowly release it throughout the night. You'll often find stone pathways or thick brick walls inside Amish greenhouses. It's not just for aesthetics. These materials are doing some serious work behind the scenes, keeping the temperature steady. Now, if you're thinking about reducing your heating costs and making your greenhouse more efficient, the Amish have another trick up their sleeve, composting. This natural heating method might surprise you. While you may picture composting as a smelly pile of decaying food, when done right, it can generate a surprising amount of heat. Composting works through decomposition. When organic materials like kitchen scraps, leaves, and manure break down, they release heat. In fact, a well-maintained compost pile can reach temperatures of up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, which is hotter than your average cup of tea. The Amish figured out that if you place compost piles strategically around or even inside your greenhouse, the heat from decomposition will keep the greenhouse warm, especially during those cold nights. The trick with composting, however, is getting the right mix of organic materials. The Amish know that a proper balance of greens like food scraps and grass clippings and browns like dried leaves and straw creates the perfect environment for microbes to do their job. Those little workers generate warmth around the clock. Plus, when the compost breaks down, you're left with rich, nutrient-packed soil for your plants. Another ingenious Amish technique is using windbreaks. A cold winter wind can freeze a greenhouse in no time, so the Amish plant trees, shrubs, and hedges around their greenhouses to block the wind. Studies show that a good windbreak can reduce wind speed by up to 50%, drastically lowering heat loss. Not only do these windbreaks help protect the greenhouse, but they also create a microclimate around the greenhouse, raising the temperature slightly compared to open areas. It's like giving your plants a natural cozy blanket. Insulation also plays a huge role in keeping the heat inside. The Amish often use straw bales around the base of their greenhouses. Straw is a fantastic insulator, and when stacked tightly, it creates a barrier that helps keep the cold out and the warmth in. Plus, once winter is over, you can compost the straw for an added bonus. Lastly, one of the simplest yet most effective methods used by the Amish is plastic sheeting. You might think plastic is far too modern for the Amish, but it's actually a common material in their greenhouses. They stretch clear plastic over frames or use double layers to create an insulating air pocket. Think of it like bubble wrap for your greenhouse. This method traps the heat inside, keeping your plants cozy all winter long. With all these techniques, The Amish show us that you don't need fancy gadgets or electricity to keep your greenhouse warm during the winter. It's all about using the natural resources at your disposal: sunlight, thermal mass, compost, and good old-fashioned windbreaks and insulation. So, next time you're thinking about how to heat your greenhouse, remember, the Amish have been doing it for generations without relying on modern technology. It's simple, sustainable, and it works. With that said, thanks for watching. And until next time,